In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, one God, amen. So my topic is why is fasting important? And so what I'm going to go through is three things, or three and a half things. The first thing is we'll go through what is fasting, and then we'll go through why is fasting important, and then we'll go through exciting things about fasting. So yes, you heard me right. Exciting things about fasting. So, what is fasting? This is a question to everyone here. You can put your hand up, you can answer, just call out what is fasting. Yes.
Not eating food that
Not
you
eating.
like.
Not eating food and what?
Not eating food that you like.
Not eating food that you like. Very nice. Okay. Anyone else? Yep. Going vegan? Yeah. Okay.
Isn't it like pretty much going vegan?
Yeah. Yeah. So going vegan, not eating food you like. Yeah.
Abstaining from things.
Yeah. Okay. Abstaining from things. Yeah. Nice. Very good. Anyone else want to add? It's really good.
Sacrificing something small for someone you love.
Yeah. Okay. And who's that someone?
Our Lord
Very
Jesus
nice.
Christ,
Yeah, yeah,
God,
very
our
good.
Savior.
Yeah. Nice. Anyone else? All right. All right, we'll call it there because there's a few more questions more other people can answer. So yeah, that's exactly right. So like Kira was saying, like everyone else was saying, you know, you stop eating things you like, you go vegan, you sacrifice for someone. And when I did a Google search, this is what came up for me. So fasting is the willful retainment from eating and sometimes drinking. So the key word for me in this definition was the word willful. So you willfully retain or you willfully stop eating something or drinking something. So you know, that's what fasting is. So that's the first point. We went through what is fasting. So now why is fasting important? And then we'll go through exciting things about fasting. So why is fasting important? So once again, this is the next question. Why is fasting important? Carol, you look like you want to answer. Go for it.
Because it makes us strong. Like it's like exercise to the soul.
Nice. That's very good. Okay. Exercise to the soul. I like that one. Anyone else? Yeah.
Helps you get closer to Jesus.
Yeah, okay. Helps you get closer to Jesus. How?
Because when you fast, like you're getting rid of like a lot of your desires of like, you know, food, like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like it's half greed as well because you're like, oh, give me everything.
Yeah.
And
okay.
because you're doing that, I think it kind of humbles you in that way, and then it kind of makes you get closer to God. I don't know exactly.
Yeah, cool. It's basically like what Abraam was saying earlier. You know, you sacrifice something for someone. So yeah, nice. Anyone else? Sam?
Fasting is important because Jesus fasted.
Wow, good one. That's a good one. I like that one. Yeah, nice. But what? Like, what? He fasted. It's important. So what?
So because he fasted, we ought to also fast. It's important because Jesus told us that without fasting and prayer, we won't be able to overcome the devil. And also the desert fathers, they also practiced fasting when they were overcoming the devil in the wilderness.
Okay. Yeah, very good. Very good. Oh, here we go.
Because I heard a sermon on this and I did a lesson on it.
Wow.
Fasting actually puts us in the original state that we were designed. Like it puts us into the state of the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve, closeness with God. So there's a mystery to fasting.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. So I had 3 points. There's 100 reasons, but I had 3 points. I thought we'd be able to get the Bible on the screen, but we can't. Or is it possible to get it? If not, is someone able to quickly pull up Luke chapter 4, verse 2? And then can someone else bring up Matthew 16, Matthew 16? Hold on. No, not Matthew 16. Oh, no. All right, let's just get Luke chapter 4, verse 2 for now. All right, go Sam. Luke chapter 4, verse 2.
Being tempted for 40 days by the devil, and in those days he ate nothing, and afterward when they had ended, he was hungry.
Very nice. So what we can see here is Christ fasted. So why is it important? Fasting is important because Christ fasted, just like Sam said. So my reasoning behind it was because Christ fasted, and when we look at Christ's life, we see that he's on the right hand of the Father. You know, Christ lived a life and he modeled a life so that we can follow his life and be like him. So when he lived his life, he's now in heaven next to God on the right hand side of him. So if we live exactly as Christ lived, we'll also be in that same position. So we fast, we do everything that Christ did, we'll be on the right hand side of the Father, right next to him. We'll be in his bosom, you know, so that's why we should fast. The next reference is Matthew 6, verse 16 to 18. Can someone please read that one?
Here?
So this is the second reason of why we should fast.
Oh, did anyone pull it up?
Okay.
Oh.
Sam looks like he's got it. Yeah, perfect.
16 to 18.
Yeah, please.
Moreover, when you fast, do not be like the hypocrites with a sad countenance, for they disfigure their faces, that they may appear to men to be fasting. Assuredly I say to you, they have their reward. But you, when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face, so that you do not appear to men to be fasting, but to your Father who is in the secret place. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you openly.
Yeah, very nice. Okay, so we can see here is the first word in that verse is when you fast. Christ says when you fast, not if you fast, if you choose to fast, if you want to fast. No, it's when you fast. So we see here that it's not really an option, it's an expectation from Christ that we should fast. And he goes here and says, this is like a side note, don't disfigure your faces, rather wash your faces and look good in front of the people. So don't make it look like you're fasting, because when you do, you won't be getting that reward. But when you wash your face, you look like you're fasting, and you don't look like you're fasting to people, God rewards you openly. Okay. The next one is, this is based off Carol's point. Like Carol, you said it's like an exercise or something, right? So fasting allows us, so this is the next reason why we should fast. It allows us to develop self-control. So you may ask me, how is it going to allow us to develop self-control? So think of it like this, right? Think of self-control as a muscle. If someone, wants to strengthen a muscle, like for example, you want to go get a bigger arm or bigger arms, and you want to train biceps, triceps, whatever. Calves, no worries. Calves. You can do some calf races, no worries. When that person goes, what they do is they put a lot of load on that muscle to strengthen it, because that muscle grows under load. So when we think of self-control as that same option, like similarity, or you use that analogy as self-control, the gym or the strengthening exercising for self-control is fasting. So when you fast, you develop self-control, and you develop self-control firstly over your body. So you become able, when you stop saying yes to food, to everything you eat, when you have the ability to say, I won't eat this, I won't drink this, you become, you're strengthening that muscle, you're saying, oh yeah, cool, I'm not going to be able to do this, you develop self-control. And then eventually, as that muscle grows and gets bigger and bigger and bigger, not only do you control things over the body, but you control things over your mind. You have the ability to control things of your mind. So you can say no to things in your head, sins that come into your head, you can say no to. And a Saint Sincelita, hopefully I said that correctly, this is what she says, or he says, I'm not sure. Just as the most bitter medicine drives out poisonous creatures, so prayer and fasting drives away evil thoughts. So when you pray and fast, evil thoughts are driven away. So now the final point, or second last, only half point, is exciting things about fasting. And yes, I know I said this before, exciting things, what do you mean? So a wise man once said, God reveals his will when you fast, pray, and read the Bible. So all three together, God reveals his will. So that's a bit exciting for me personally. So if you want to know his will, fast, pray, read the Bible, and you'll find out hopefully. In the Mass, when it comes to the time of the fraction, every time, Abuna mentions a lot of people, and he says, through prayer and fasting, this person did this. Through prayer and fasting, this person did this. So I'm just going to read two quick examples. So let's go to here. Fasting and prayer are those which the Ninevites pursued. So God had mercy on them and forgave them their sins and lifted his wrath away from them. So through their prayer and fasting, he did this. Fasting and prayer are which raised Elijah to heaven and saved Daniel from the lion's den. So you can see that there's a lot that fasting and prayer does. So next time, just the idea, when it comes to the fraction, listen to it and actually, focus in this part, because it's actually very touching and very nice. So focus on that. And then what's exciting about this is you can add your name to this list. Add your name to, not just Elijah did this, the Ninevites did this, but you want to hear through prayer and fasting, for example, this person, overcame their sin. Through prayer and fasting, this person, insert your name here, showed their love to Christ, and he had mercy on them. So insert your name. You want to be that person that has their name through prayer and fasting, this person did this. Okay, one last point is, I know I said you shouldn't disfigure your faces when you're fasting and make it look like you're fasting, but at the same time, don't be embarrassed by it. So if you're with a group of people that are not fasting, and you're the only one fasting, it's not a sin if you buy fasting food and people realize that you're fasting. It's just the byproduct of the nature of what you're doing. You know, don't feel guilty for doing that. Don't go and buy non-fasting food because of that. But don't do it in a way that, you know, you're flaunting that you're fasting or you're showing that you're fasting. But it's not a sin, so don't be embarrassed. And then finally, when should I start? If you haven't already, start now, not tomorrow, because tomorrow never comes. So if you're going to fast now. Does anyone have any questions? All right. Glory be to God forevermore. Amen.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks. That was an excellent pre-talk. I think everyone should learn how to fast now. Mark gave you a few points on that. So just continuing on, we're going to be continuing our series of time. And this week it's time is of the essence. And all the way from St. Mary's is Paul Cedric. So please make him feel welcome.
Come on down, guys up the back. Does this move? Can I move this? See if we can move it. Come on down, come on down. Done. It's on the screen right there. Oh, beautiful. Okay, come on down. Name of the Father, the Son, of the Holy Spirit, one God, amen. My name is Paul Cedric, as you heard. Just a little bit about me before I begin. I'm a teacher of about 15 to 20 years. Hello, how are you? And recently I've got into politics. So I'm a local councillor at Bayside Council. For those of you who don't know where that is, that's like Brighton, Les Sands, the airport. It's close to Marrickville. So we control the airport, we control the ports. So when you come to Brighton, that's our neck of the woods. So that's the thing that I'm now doing. So I'm a local politician. If anyone's interested in that, I'd love you to come on, talk to me after the meeting. I guess what I'm here to talk about though, and more importantly, other than my life story, is something that's dear to me. And when Carol asked me to talk, I was really excited. This is really touching for me, guys. So we've turned down the lights a little bit because I just want you to get in the mood of what I'm about to say. And we're going to focus on time, as you can see from the screen. And the idea that we're looking at time and taking things for granted. And for me, this is the biggest issue in my life. I take my kids for granted. I take my parents for granted. I take my church for granted. Everything I do, I take for granted. And that's what I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about. And I guess before we begin into that is that I'm a big fan of the belief that everything has a time, right? Time is of the essence. So I was one of those guys that would come to church and you go inside the hekel and I'm trying to concentrate on the mass and I think about everything else. School, girls, smoking, drugs, my shoes, anything you could think of, I'm thinking about, other than the haircut. Everything. And so I guess what I always try to focus on, and I'm trying my hardest to do, is give everything my 100%. So whether it be work or school, your parents, whatever it is, if you go to school, give it your 100%. Walk out that door, then start playing. If it's work, do the same. If it's your parents, if it's your relationship with your brother, everything, give it your all. Give it 100%. Don't hold back. That's for me one of the big secrets in the way I look at things. And once you walk out of this church, then play and do whatever you want. When you go to work, give 100%. Nothing else, 100%. Same with school. If it's your relationship with your father or a parent, put your phone away. hang out with them, concentrate with them, do nothing else. Okay, and that's the idea of time is of the essence. So, and that goes with church and work and your health as well. Anyway, we think we have a lot of time, and I guess where this is going is that we take it for granted. But do we have it? So, before I begin, if I can ask you guys, I'm going to ask you to do just a quick activity, please, if you're here with me. If I can just get you guys to go to your notes in your phone, and I'm going to get you to do a little activity for yourself. No one's going to see it. No one's going to see this activity. So the activity is this. The first thing we're going to focus on is our parents. So when we look at our parents, hold on, I'll go back. Daniel, where's Daniel? Anyway, all right. So what I want you to do now is put everything out of your head, and we're going to focus on parents. That's all I want you to do. Now, for a lot of people, they don't have the luxury of this. Some people only have one parent, some don't have any. So all I want you to do is this thing here, right here. What do I appreciate about your parents? Write it in notes. Now, if your parents have passed, do it about someone that you love. Think of someone you love. It could be a friend, could be a partner, could be anybody, a brother or sister. I'm going to give you 60 seconds, and I'll get some music in the background, if I can have some music. So 60 seconds, write what you appreciate about your parents. Okay? 60 seconds, what you appreciate about your parents. Okay, for those who have just walked in, I would like you to just put in your phone, just write down, what do you appreciate your parents? What do you appreciate about your parents? Write it down in your notes in your phone. You've got 30 seconds to go. Can you guys do that, please? No one's going to see this. What do you appreciate about your parents? Is it the food they give you? Is it the unconditional love? How they wake you up every morning, push you no matter what? Is it when they drive you somewhere? Is it what they've done to get you where you are today? What do you appreciate about your parents? Ten more seconds. Okay, we'll have the music off. All right, so if you still need time, it's okay. We're going to come back to it. Today is one of those topics where it's just going to get you to think about what's really important in your life. And if you've got time, if you still have time, we'll say it at the end. That note, don't delete it. We're going to come back to it at the end of the talk. Let me give you a few stories. And this is about taking life for granted. And this is the first story. I've got an uncle, his name is Sam, electrician, quite successful, awesome life, have 2 kids, young, similar age to me, even though he's my uncle. And was always one of those guys, the loudest at the party, full of life. I love this man. I'm very similar to him in personality. And they said I was always a mini him. Anyway, a couple years ago, he got diagnosed with diabetes. And he was not overweight. He was quite thin as a man, but he used to smoke. He used to, eat unhealthy food. And the diabetes started to get to his body. Anyway, in the last few years, he went inside a hospital a few times, in and out of hospital. About a year ago, something tragic hit my family that we all struggled to accept. My Uncle Sam hospital, and the diabetes had got to his system. By then he'd given up smoking. He was smoking he gave up for about 5 years. So only last year he went into hospital. He gave up all the rubbish foods, but the diabetes had hit him hard. Anyway, they did a lot of tests and so forth, and it ended up getting to his leg. So the diabetes was that bad, it ended up going through his leg. His leg had swollen, and the blood wasn't circulating down to his leg. So the doctors call his wife and said, you've got 2 options. If we don't amputate the leg, it's more than likely going to travel throughout the body. She had to make a decision with him. They ended up amputating the leg. Now this happened just last year. And you could imagine how hard this was for us as a family. This guy's now pretty much lost his livelihood. A lot of what he does is by hand. He's an electrician. He can't get up and down ladders anymore. The hard thing for me was when I took my kids. My youngest is 7. She was 6 at the time. And she goes, Dad, what happened to Uncle Sam? And until today, it breaks me to explain to her. So it was hard to explain to her he lost his leg. And I kid you not, my 3 kids, I've got 3 kids, my youngest, and when they went in the room, it was hard for him to look into his face. And they kept looking at his leg because I told them the situation. And it was so hard for them to accept that this guy had just lost his leg. Now this person, who I love dearly, took life for granted. We all do. We all do. And until today, he's paying that price. Okay? And this is all about time. And this is going to go for every one of us. We're all here for a limited time. And what we do is what we do. I'll give you another story. A guy from where we're from, Rockdale, he's a bit older than me. He's last year he owns a few sweet shops down in Rockdale. Anyway, last year, probably at the 2nd wave of COVID, his mum gets COVID. She was double vaxxed, she gets it. Lebanese family. As you can imagine, everyone was told not to go near her, blah, blah, blah. As a result, though, she ended up dying within a week. She was one of those statistics, you know those ones that you see on the news? She died. In that week, prior to that week, before she knew she had COVID, she was sick, And they didn't know why. Her whole family, she had 7 kids, husband, grandkids, and they were all around her. She dies. My friend buries his mum, and 4 days later, the father passes away. In the same week, this is a tough topic, guys. It's not one of those easy topics. In the same week, my friend buries a mother and a father. Half his brothers got COVID, and the others didn't. You can imagine, this was on Current Affair as well and all this kind of stuff. So, when we talk about time and time of the essence, it's happening. These are people in my life. These are our parents. Let's leave the parents for a second. Another youth close to our way, who goes to St. George Church in Kensington, 30 years old, quite good looking, built, he's got a few tats, good guy, good with the ladies as well. He was about to get married. One day doesn't wake up, heart attack. And the mum comes in to wake him up, and bang. Can you imagine you're in that situation where you've got to wake up a loved one who had just passed away? This guy was about 30. So I'm not talking to you about people that are in 80-year-old or whatever it is. And I'm not going to preach to you here tonight and say, get closer to God, time is of the essence. No, that's not my talk tonight. My talk is, it's real. It's happening. I'm sure you've seen some stuff happening around here with the floods. Our council have been affected by floods where people couldn't leave home. People had to be evacuated. It's happening here. It's happening all over the place. People in a drop of a hat are losing their livelihood, their homes. And this is the type of thing we've got to deal with, taking life for granted. I'm one of those guys. I'm going to share with you something that has anyone seen this guy before? Hands up if you've seen. Okay, before I actually do that, just so I can gauge the room, can I ask, can I get a show of hands if you've still got your parents alive, through God's grace? Hands up if you've got both parents alive. One parent. Okay, so it's majority. All right. This guy, growing up, I grew up in the 80s and 90s, okay? I'm a little bit older than you guys, a little bit younger than Carol. I don't look it, I look younger. Anyway, Mark Miro, this guy I absolutely adore, okay? If you don't know this guy, has anyone seen him? No? Look him up. I beg you to look him up. This guy was a famous wrestler. Who's heard of Hulk Hogan? Surely, Hulk Hogan. The Rock. Who's heard of The Rock? Dwayne Johnson. Well, you guys don't watch no movies down this way? What's the situation? Ladies in the middle. Have you heard of Dwayne Johnson? Okay, good. All right. The Rock, this guy was similar in his prime, okay, in the 80s and 90s. Mark Miro, famous wrestler, WWF, amateur boxer. He ended up converting his life to Christianity. He saw the light, and he became a motivational speaker. I'm going to play you his video about his mother. And I'm sure you've seen it, or if you haven't, just listen until the end. And we'll talk afterwards, okay?
I was playing football. I would be on the sidelines, and if the play on the field started going one way, my mother would run along like, Mark, get up, get up. I'd be like, oh my gosh. I'd get in the huddle with the other guys. They go, Mark, is that your mother? I go, no, I never saw her before in my life. The greatest gift my mother ever gave me, she believed in me. I overdosed on drugs on 3 occasions where I should have been dead. But I believe I was kept here for a reason. You show me your friends, I will show you your future. How do I know this? I hung out with losers, and I became the biggest loser of them all because I gave up everything I dreamt about as a little boy because of who I chose to surround myself with. My friends would drive me home at 2, 3, 4 in the morning. We'd be drunk and high, laughing in the car. We'd pull up in front of my house in New York. They go, Mark, the light's on. I go, oh man, my mother's up. See, my mom wouldn't go to bed until she knew her son was still alive. I'd walk in, she'd say, hi Mark, how was your night? I go, it was good, Mom, I'm just gonna go to bed. She goes, can I talk to you for a minute? I go, Mom, I'm tired, I'm just gonna go to bed. She goes, Mark, I haven't seen you all day and all night. Can I please talk to you? I said, man, just leave me alone. You bug me. I'd slam my bedroom door. I'm the one person who believed in me. I was on a worldwide tour when we were wrestling overseas in Japan. After my wrestling match, I went upstairs in my hotel room and I fell asleep. There was a knock at my door at 3 o'clock in the morning. I got out of bed, I looked through the safety window, and I could see it was a Japanese promoter. So I opened the door and he said, Mark, you need to call home. There's been an emergency. I went and got a hotel room phone. I called back to the United States and said, hey, what's going on? I said, Mark, I don't know how to tell you this. I said, just tell me what happened. I suddenly started crying. They go, Mark, I can't tell you. I said, just say it. I said, Mark, your mother died. I just threw the phone down. I ran out of my hotel room. I took the elevator to the lobby, and when the doors opened up, I just ran out into the street. I mean, there was no cars, there was no people. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. And I walked down the middle of a street in Hiroshima, Japan, and I remember looking up and just saying, Mom, I am so sorry. I flew home for her funeral, and I was so nervous to walk up to her casket, so I just stood way in the back. And I kept looking from a distance, and I kept thinking to myself, Mom, please wake up. Please get up. And then I finally got the nerve to walk up to her. And as I got closer, I could see my mom for the first time. I mean, she was so beautiful. She was dressed in white. I mean, she looked like an angel. And I just stood over and I said, Mom, you are my hero. Everything I am, everything I hope to be was because of you. You loved me so much, you gave me a life. You're the only one that ever believed in me. How did I repay her? By getting drunk, by getting high, by getting stupid, by hanging out with losers? For what? All she ever wanted to do was talk to me. I wish I could talk to you now, Mom. I wish you could see what I'm doing. Why couldn't I have been a better son? We are defined by our choices. But if you surround yourself with people involved in drugs and alcohol and pills, it's a dead end. I'm not here to preach to you. I'm here to tell you I lived that life. It leads to broken hearts, broken relationships, broken dreams, and death. For what? To get high? If you have a mother or a father, when you go home, tell them how much you love them. See, my whole life was about being rich and famous. I had to be a millionaire. I had to win the race. I had to win the race at the expense of my marriage, my family, my friends. For what? To be all alone in the world? I learned what is truly important, and that is how precious this gift of life is, and our families, and how quickly it can be taken away. See, I no longer live in time. I live in moments. See, it's not what's in your pocket that matters. It's what's in your heart that truly matters. Love. Love is just a word until somebody comes along and gives it meaning. You're the meaning.
Pretty good, huh? I'm sure after that, you could definitely appreciate that even if you have your parents here, that we all are doing something wrong and we all take someone for granted. And if it's not your mum and if it's not your dad, it could be your friends. Could be your teachers, it could be your brothers and sisters. We take things for granted. I just want to quickly touch on this. If I could have some, just call out stuff. What messages did you guys take from this? What messages did you hear? What really touched you? Anybody? Come on. Give me one at the back. Anyone? Come on, guys. How about I'll start? Don't take people for granted. What I love about this guy's story is that I had a similar upbringing. I was away from church and I hanged around the losers, and I was one of those kids that did get suspended and kicked out of school and yada, yada, yada. I don't like to say it too often because my kids, when they hear these stories, they say, "See, Dad?" And I don't tell them the full story because I'm not embarrassed by it. I've learnt a lot from it. But I want you to tell me, what messages did you take out of this? What did you feel? What do you think? What did you feel? Did it hit you?
I've seen it before.
Okay, great. All right, I've seen it before. Who hasn't seen it before? Give me some points. What did you think?
I think it really teaches you to allocate more time to your parents and appreciate the time you have with your parents rather than dismissing it.
Sure. Any other points? Time to your parents. Time. What else? Come on, guys. In the middle here. How are we going? Yeah, go for it. What do you think? How are we going? Tommy Hilfiger. Is that your name? No? Tommy? Oh, okay. What did you think?
I was going to say similar to him, but yeah, if your parents want to have a chat with you, instead of don't make excuses to kind of not spend that time with them. Just use every opportunity you can to spend time with your parents, regardless of circumstance. If you're tired from work, have a chat with your mum if she wants to have a chat with you.
Isn't that, how hard is that easy though? Is that hard? You know, when your mum wants you to eat and wants to talk to you. Look, this is life, guys. I'm married now, and I've been married for 20 years, and my wife wants to talk to me now, and I'm tired. And my mum was the same. How do we deal with that? What do we do? What did he say about friends? He said, can anyone tell me at the beginning? He said something about friends. What did you hear? Big man up the back. What did you hear about friends? Did anyone hear anything about friends? He said something about friends. If you hang around losers, you become a loser. Oh man, tell me your friends, what was it? In future, perfect. All right? This is something that's been going on for centuries. It's not like now. It says it in the Bible as well. Old Testament and New. This has been going on forever. It's the same thing. The other messages that I got out of it is, it's not about winning the race or becoming a millionaire and successful. In our community, especially the Muslim community, everyone comes here on a Sunday and dressed nicely. And boys are nicely deodorant and cologne. Girls have done their hair, nails, blah, 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 trying to get a better job. It's not about that. I know we think it is, but it's not about that. He said it's about here. It's about how good you are. And don't take life for granted. I'll give you another. I want to give you another one, all right? It's a little bit different. Are you okay to okay. So that was about a mother, okay? And the reason why I love this man, like I said, I've got a similar background. This next one is called Father's Hand, and it's a true story, or based on a true story. And again, if your father's still with you, I want you to listen to this. It's about taking life for granted, taking our parents for granted, taking people for granted. And we all do it. We all do it. Okay? If I can get a microphone. Daniel, if I can get some music in the background, please. I'm very dramatic, by the way. If you haven't noticed. Wait, we'll just wait for. Okay, so I want you to take this. This is a beautiful. I just want you to listen until the end. Okay? Take it in, and I'm going to ask some questions at the end. Okay? So Daniel, will start with the music. Beautiful church, by the way. Okay, go take it.
A young man went to seek an important position at a leading law firm. He passed the initial interview and went to meet the general manager for the final interview. The general manager looked at his CV and asked, "Have you ever received a scholarship for school?" "No," the man replied. "It was your father who paid for your studies, wasn't it?" "Yes." "What does your father do for work?" My father is a metal welder." "Why did it take you so long to answer?" I see," the manager replied. Then the general manager asked the young man to show him his hands. They were soft and perfect. "Have you ever helped your father or parents at their job?" the manager continued. "Never. My parents always wanted me to study and read more books. Besides, he can do the job better than I can." "I have a request for you," said the manager. "When you go home today, go and wash the hands of your father, and then come see me tomorrow morning." The young man left feeling good about the interview, but a little confused. That night, when he returned home, he asked his father if he would allow him to wash his hands. His father disagreed at first, as he felt rather strange about the request, but eventually agreed. The young man washed his father's hands, little by little, slowly crying more and more, as he noticed how rough his father's hands were. It was the first time that he noticed all the wrinkles and scars on his father's hands. Some bruises on his hands were so painful that his skin shuddered upon being touched. It was the first time that the young man recognized what it meant for these pair of hands to have worked every day to be able to pay for him to live and study. The bruises on his father's hands were the price that he paid for his child's education, happiness, and future. After cleaning his father's hands, the young man stood in silence, holding back the tears and clutching his father's hands. Realizing that everything the father did was for him, the son then began to help his father and tidy up his workshop. That night, the father and son talked for hours and hours. The son asked the father to forgive him for all the wrongs he did. After hugging the father, he told him that he loved him for the first time since he was a young child. The father's rough hands made the son truly appreciate his father for the first time. The next morning, the young man returned to the manager's office. The manager noticed the tears in his eyes. "Can you tell me what you did and what you learned yesterday?" he asked the young man. "I washed my father's hands. When I finished, I stayed and helped him, then cleaned his workshop. We spoke all night. I asked for his forgiveness and told him that I love him." The son cried. Then he continued, "Now I know what it is to appreciate and recognize that without my father or parents, I would not be who I am today. By helping my father, I realized how mean and self-centered I was, never having time for my parents. Now I realize how difficult it is to do something on my own. I have come to appreciate the importance and the value in helping the family and how much they sacrificed for me." The manager looked at him with an earnest expression. "This is what I look for in my people, to appreciate our fathers and families, to appreciate their sacrifices, a person who knows the hardship of others. I want to hire someone who does not take people or life for granted. You are hired."
Thank you. This kind of happened to me as well. It's not my story though. And until today, I struggle in my relationship with my father. Every day that I see him, we argue. And only recently, when he was in hospital, and he brought me over to discuss like how to look after my mum. And he said to me, he said, when I go, this is where I keep my money. This is what you need to do. And so these stories are quite hard to accept. And we do this all the time. And for me, they're really special because it highlights my imperfections and how I deal with people. And we all have this situation happening to us every single day where we're not appreciative, we're not thankful. And I'm the first one. Until today, I will argue with my dad every day, and I treat him like, you know, I don't have time for him. I remember my dad, I was a young boy, I was a door slammer. You know those door slammers? Like, get out of here, I don't want to listen to it. And my son's doing it now. But I learned from that because now my son, when he does it, I've taken the door off and I've removed it for 6 months. But my dad used to accept it, and he used to just lose his, he used to lose it. And it was only until he got really sick did I start feeling this. When he started saying, take care of your mum. Take care of your brother. And so I ask you guys the same thing. What are we taking for granted? And the messages that I always get out of this is, you know, we go to uni and we do a 4 to 5 year degree, or some people do go a little bit and go doctor or whatever, double degree, whatever it is. But honestly, the true lessons, the hardest lessons, we think it's on the internet, or we think it's at a university, or at school, the Coptic school, or what have you. But honestly, it's at home. It's your parents. It's your brothers. It's at the feet of an elderly person. I'm part of this group in St. Mary's. It's a St. Mary's elderly group, right? And I'm in my 40s now, right? And we made, all the guys that are in my age group from about 30 to 40, we made a group called St. Mary's Elders. And our job was to go out to every person that has touched us over the years, Sunday school servants, bus drivers, whatever it may be, and go and visit them. And we'd go and visit them. And we made sure that we just sat, and you know what? There was one boy in particular, he'd always sit on the floor, this guy. And us, the boys, our group, would always tease him. Why are you sitting on the floor? And then he sent us this beautiful verse about the best lessons are learnt at the feet of elderly. And all you got to do is listen to your grandparents, to your parents, and you're going to learn an amazing amount. Amazing amount. And we now go, unfortunately though, we visit elderly once or twice, and within 6 months, a year, they pass away. It's really, what's the word? It's really hard, and it's very tense to know that you've just visited someone in hospital, in a nursing home, in their home. And a lot of our Sunday school servants now, they're in their 60s and 70s. Some of them don't go to the toilet by themselves. Some of them can't eat properly. Some of them don't remember who we are. And this is, it's tragic. It's tragic. And so we're trying to repay this, that they've done so much. So the lessons are more than any uni degree, more than anything that you might hear outside, it's your parents. And if it's not your parents, it's the elderly. So I ask you to be one of those people and find your service. Find what's going to work for you. If it's going out and meeting someone on Sunday here, I kid you not, there are so many people crying for attention. And I'm not talking about us potentially looking at a boyfriend or girlfriend marriage situation. No. I'm talking about those elderly people who don't have long. Don't have long. And they'll say it to you, I've got 5 years to go. Imagine you knew how long you've got to go. Imagine you knew you got 5 years. What would you do different? How would you react? That father in that story worked every day of his life, and all he wanted to do was not go to the pub or the bar or whatever it is. Sometimes they yell and scream, parents, and they're unreasonable, and they ask you to study. and they ask, and they're so mean to you. But are they mean? What do they really want from you? They want you to what? Clean, get good grades, get good marks, not hang out with losers, not take drugs, not smoke. Are they that bad? Or do you think they're bad? Are they telling you something bad? But we push them away. We push our parents away. We usually push the people that love us most away. Because people that don't matter to you, people that really don't matter to you, you're nice to them. You shake their hand, you smile. But people that really mean something to you, brothers, sisters, parents, all those people, you treat them like they don't exist. Do you say please and thank you? How do you treat your brothers and sisters? How do you treat these people? Or do you just treat your friends really well? Why do we do that? Why do we take them for granted? And I did it too. I would hang out with my group, my friends at school, and you're doing all the things, fun. My brother comes along, who was 4 years below me, and I'd get my friends to tease him, bash him, push him out of the circle. I was embarrassed from him. I would do it. And now I think about it, I go, what type of person does that? My brother, all he wanted to do was look up to me. And until today, he's 4 years younger than me. All he wants to do is hang out with me. But because I'm so busy, I don't have time for him. But guess what? I've got time for my mates. I've got time for ridiculous conversations about nothing. But when it comes important stuff, I'm not there. You think about this. I'm going to go back into this somber little situation. And like that Mark Miro, how his mum passed away. I just want you to think about it. If it happens to you, just have a think. If you were to pass away, God forbid, or it's a positive thing if you're ready, and he takes you, that's a great thing, right? Abuna Samuel in my church, it would always say, you know how they say in Arabic, Ba'd al-shar. Ba'd al-shar. You know, if something happens, Ba'd al-shar. And he would say, never say to me, Ba'd al-shar. In a funeral, never say Ba'd al-shar. Say, A'balak Abuna. A'balak Abuna. Translation means, I hope you die. It's a good, I like it, because you go to Abuna, Abuna, I hope you die. Yalla, khalas, finish. And it's a weird concept, and he'd always laugh. He goes, but I want to go to heaven. I can't wait. And we just had a funeral 2 days ago. And he was there, and he made everyone laugh. And he goes, if anyone tells me about the shar, or تعيش وتصلي, تعيش وتجامل, تعيش ومش عارف ايه, تعيش, عقبال 100 سنة, he goes, مش عايز اسمع الزبالة دي. I don't want to hear that rubbish. What he wants to hear is, عقبالك أبونا تتوفى, to pass away. How beautiful is that, huh? Amazing. No one has that. And it's not a depression thing. It's not an emo thing, guys. I don't want you to think this Abuna Samuel's an emo. But he's getting on in age and he's ready, according to what he believes. Anyway, let's come back to the topic. Here's the thing. I just want you to think about this. Can you imagine, and maybe if you could close your eyes, can I get you to do this? Is this something that you guys can do? Let's close your eyes. Just close your eyes. Close your eyes for a few seconds. Imagine you're in this church, but you're in a box at the front of the church, and it's your time. You've passed away. Your parents are in the front row, your friends, your family, everyone that you love. Who do you think is going to be most affected by your passing? Who do you think is going to be most affected by your passing? Can you imagine what your mum's face would be? Or your dad? Your brothers, your sisters? The truth is that it's your brothers and sisters and your parents who are going to care most. And everybody else, including myself, including majority of people sitting here, they'll cry, they'll be upset, it'll hurt, but then they walk out that door and they've got their own lives. Forgive me, even Abuna, everyone, we're all going to go. We're all going, we're not staying. And if I could just get you to think about what that scene would be like. And imagine you could come out of there and say to your mum, I love you. I love you. Forgive me. Or your brother, or your sister, or anyone that you've done wrong to. You know, the people that you've been mean to? Even back in Year 9, when you went in that school camp and you picked on someone and you called them fat, or whatever it is. Or, so, you know, the time where you're in a group standing outside here, and there's 5 of you, and a 6th person comes along and you kind of push them to the side. We love to have our little groups and our little cliques, don't we? But we always like to push people out. Imagine you had your time again. Would you push that person out? What about that geek, or the one that stutters, or the one that's ugly, or the one that smells, or the one that needs deodorant? Do you push them out, or do you tease them? Do you talk behind their back? Do we give people a second chance? If they've done wrong by me, do I just, that's it? I'm going to talk behind your back. I'm going to start, you know, doing what I do best, which is just talk behind your back. I want you to think about that moment, okay? And for me, those moments are crucial. There was a man who, his name was, has anyone heard of Amin Awadallah? Anyway, this old man, his name is Amin, and he was the funniest guy, right? And he would say to me, Paul, at my funeral, I want you to give a speech and wear a Hawaiian shirt. He used to love Hawaiian shirts. And he would say, Paul, you carry my casket. It was a real, do you know who I'm talking about? Amin Awadallah. Anyway, and this guy, he had a real funny sense of humor, but he really came to grips with that we're all going to pass away. And he said he wanted in his funeral to be fun and jokes. And true to my word, I told him I would do it. And I went to the funeral, and after the church and all the formalities, we then went back in the hall, and his nephew says, Paul, do you mind if you say some stories about Amin? And I did. And they were all funny stories about his life, about what he did. He thought, for example, he was the first Mosidi to ever go to the snow. He reckons that he came to Australia in 1969, and he was the first Mosidi to go to the snow. He goes, no Mosidi's ever seen snow before me. That was something he claimed. And so these are the beautiful memories we share. But guys, we're all going to go, and we're all going to have these moments like this father's hand and our mum's hand. Oh, sorry, mum's passing. And we're going to take life for granted, and we're going to do it again and again. And I kid you not, even if this talk got to you 10%, 100%, or whatever it is, you are walking out this door and you'll carry on back into your life. For there to be real change, for you not to take life for granted, unfortunately, I say to everyone that I deal with, you must have a major drama in your life, trauma. For you to really, 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 really respect the ground that your mother walks on, she must be at her deathbed. Sometimes some of us are a little bit advanced and we've worked it out. And I work out that my brother means so much to me. I don't get along with my brother, but if I could just give him everything. And it's so hard. It's so hard. And so I want you guys to don't take these moments for granted. So if you could take a few things out of this, is don't take life for granted. But if I could leave you a few points, okay? If I could leave you with, if you knew it was your time or your parents' time, what would you do different? Would you argue with them? Would you not listen to your parents? Would you tell them they don't understand? Would you tell them they're old-fashioned? You're old-fashioned. أنت مش فاهمة. You don't understand. Would you tell them I've got no time? I'm busy. I'm going out with my mates. Going out with my friends. Going to a party. Don't talk to me, Mum. Talk to me later. When Geddu comes along and you say, Geddu, I'm busy. Isaiah, what do you want? Would you tell him to leave you alone? Or would you say, I understand that you want to be, that you want me to be the best. I understand why you're so strict. Would you open up to them? Would you speak to them? Would you tell them how much you appreciate them? Would you thank them for everything they've done? Sit in front of their feet, not on a chair, right in front of their feet, and say thank you for the food, for the house, for the sacrifices. Would you hug them? Kiss them? Say, I love you. Is it hard to say I love you to a parent? Who can do it? Put your hand up if you can say I love you. Who can say sorry to a parent? It's not always easy. Don't take your parents for granted. Appreciate and thank them. Tell them that you love them. Don't wait until it's too late. And this is not just for your parents, for everybody. Everybody you come in contact with, touch them with love and kindness. Touch them with your heart. Not with a rough hand, not with a rough face, not with a rough mouth, not with a judgmental mind. Touch them with your heart. Don't wait until it's too late. Each one of these stories I gave you at the beginning, they're all true. Whether it's that 30-year-old youth from St. George who passed away, whether it's my uncle who lost a leg, it's going to happen. Something's going to happen. So, if I can ask you, make time tonight. When you leave here and you have your nice little chats outside and whatever you guys do, make time tonight. Go home tonight. I'm not joking. Go and do this. And if it's not tonight, first thing in the morning. If you're not too big and too cool, go and snuggle up next to your mum or dad and say, I love you. Give them a hug. Give them a kiss. Or better still, I'll tell you what we'll do. Can you guys go back to your phones? Do you know that note that you wrote about your parents, what you appreciate about them? Can you go back to that? Can everyone go back to that? Go back to that note. You got 60 seconds. Go back to that note. What do you appreciate about your parents? Go back to that note that we did at the beginning. And what I'd like you to do now, create a text message. I know it's not easy. Create a text message right now, that you're going to send to your mum or dad, or both if you have that opportunity, to say what you appreciate about them. If you're like me and your parents don't read really well or understand English, send them a picture of yourself, a love heart, whatever it is. Do it now. I'm going to give you 60 seconds. So that note that you created at the beginning, I want you to now convert that note in what do I appreciate about my parents, how much you love them, how much you care. I know it's weird. You probably had an argument just on the way here. Just do it. Do it now. Go. Okay. Let's hope everyone did it. If you don't, it's okay. This is just my thoughts, my way, what I've seen, what I've experienced. At the end of the day, you can take this or you can throw it away. Majority of you will probably go back to what you've been doing. We all do that. Okay, it's like when you start a diet. You say, I'm going to start on Monday, or I'm going to give up something. And now that we're in preparation week, make it your thing. Make it your thing in this Easter, this Lent. Okay? I know I'm sure, like give up, find something that you can do different. And if you could just reach out to everyone that you've made an issue with and touch them with your heart. Touch them with your heart. All right? Thank you so much. If there's any other questions, I hope you can do some of these things. Until next time, touch people with your heart. Thank you. Any questions?
Paul, I don't have a question, but I think I might share something.
Please.
I guess considering I'm everyone's sister, and I went through something similar. I lost my dad a year and a month ago, and Paul's right. So I'm speaking from first-hand experience. Every day when I talk to him in the Mass, I ask him to forgive me for not spending enough time with him, because all he wanted was me to spend time with him. And we always say that we're busy, but the truth is we waste a lot of time. Yeah. We don't use our time wisely. And a lot of the time that I did waste, I could have used, to spend with him. Now I look back and I remember when he was sick, when I gave him a manicure and a pedicure because he hated not having nice nails, and that to me is like such a precious time when I had my whole life, but looking back at just taking care of him or craving a hug or just hearing his laugh. Every time he'd see me, he'd laugh. Like, I don't know why. He was happy to see me, or like whatever, but we really, really, really take these things for granted, and I'm living proof that we will live to regret it, because I regret every moment that I lost and that I didn't seize. And I guess we need to pray that God gives us wisdom on how to use our time and how to be more in the moment and really appreciate what we do have, because it just goes. It's just and so thank you so much for making us cry the whole youth meeting. No, thank you, Paul.
Do we have any other questions for Paul? No? Okay. Thank you, Paul. That was actually quite a heartfelt talk. We don't often get many of those.